Hello, everyone. Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, thank you for joining me. We're going to talk about the coasts, both seeing significant weather as that old big bomb cyclone, I don't like using the word bomb cyclone, but by definition, that's what it was, continues to wreak havoc on the West Coast, Northern California, seeing everything from heavy rain, flooding, flash flooding, and even some debris slides from that event, and snow making its way through Pennsylvania and on up into New York. On the latest on what's going on now, the impacts, and we'll take a look as well at that forecast. Holiday travelers, what do you need to know? It's all now. Make sure you drop questions in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. It's a pleasure to have you here. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's take a look at this radar and let's go across the globe and let's take a peek at what we have. West Coast, mainly rain showing up there, a little dash of snow across the northern plains of Montana. But look what's going on as we sneak in to the northeast United States and into the New England states here. We have some snow reports to go over here. A few of them, 3-inch magnitude snowfall report out here. This is all the way south in Boone County there in North Carolina. But as we get a little closer into Pennsylvania, we have snow reports not far from Altoona that were upwards of 3 inches. But look at Scranton up here. How about 13.4 inches of snow reported out there? That snow, 13.4 inches, a lot of it. So big time impacts for some with wet weather in Harrisonburg, Baltimore, but there was a little snow, about 2.5 showing up on the radar here. And the report from a National Weather Service employee out there, not far from Westminster out there. Now, as we take a look into Philadelphia, there was some snow reported out there, 0.2 of an inch, not too bad. That's manageable. Allentown and Point South, 2.5 inches of snow reported, as well as the Pottsville area seeing some snow showers. So heavy rain now moving into Pittsburgh and Cleveland after, if you saw the football game on Thursday night, just pounded with snow in Cleveland. A huge game for the AFC North out there as we saw the Steelers and Cleveland have a battle out there. Rain falling over the top of that snow right now. This system is working its way off to the east. There are impacts, rainfall in Boston, and even up into Maine it's rain. So this is a warm system drawing warmer air off of the coast there with that Gulf Stream keeping things mighty mild there. But boy, once we get into any elevation at all, it's turning over to snow. Now let's get our attention right back out to the other coast. This is out here near California as we take a look. Sacramento down to San Jose and San Francisco, seeing some very terrible reports of mud slides and the like. Here are flash flood warnings that are in effect for the San Francisco area. So here we go. We're talking Redmond, San Francisco, down south into San Mateo, seeing flooding problems. Now, when we look at some of these little green icons here, I'll hover over one near Oakland, and this is a report here of what's they're calling water blocking lanes 1 and 2 of westbound 580. So we have that. We have also a member of the public sent photos, videos showing flooding at the intersection of Alameda Street and Henry. And I do believe I've seen some debris flows as a result of the very heavy amounts of rain making their way in off of the coast. Now, as we go in just a little bit farther inland to Grass Valley, Sacramento, the heavy rain continues. All of this is a result of that bomb cyclone that was sitting off the coast in the Pacific. And as we take a bigger view, we'll go ahead and take a look at the satellite view from this system. Well, let's go ahead and look at the visible. It's still not quite sunset out there. Oh, it's just off the coast. Here it is. So there is that cyclone off the coast of the Pacific Northwest spinning its wheels. We can get a better view here. We'll use the infrared satellite imagery right here. And there you can see. Now, this counterclockwise circulation around this low, drawing on abundant moisture in the warm southern Pacific, and that is working its way up inland. And I'll tell you what, very heavy rain. Once that moist air is drawn up the terrain of the coast of California. Richard, thank you for watching and thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate you saying that. In Mississippi, so cold and green. Thank you. You know what? My folks out in Arkansas are appreciative of some rain and finally appreciating some slightly cooler weather. I have a surprise for you if you stick around, Richard. There is an Arctic air mass that's heading for the nation as we go through the holiday season. I'm broadcasting to you from the Northern Plains, where I've spent 30 years as an on-air meteorologist and now streaming on my own channel, Hutch's Weather. I'm sure glad you found me. Hi, Hutch. What's Westminster, Maryland? Grew up in Maryland. Let's take a look out there for you, Cheryl. I appreciate you asking. Finishing up on the West Coast. We still have wind. There are some reports of wind out there. Let me pop this back up on the radar here. Pardon me while I do that. Thank you for your patience. Rainfall reports in and around Boise, by the way. Let's take a look at that. We had rain in Boise and yesterday, and then some heavy snow in the mountains just off to the west. Rain reports of a good inch or so in the elevated terrain just off to the west. Almost 2 inches here, 1.7 inches, about 7 miles west-southwest of Smith's Ferry out there. Now that is on the western reaches as you go up the elevated terrain. Here's what's going on in Montana as we work our way back off to the east for you, Cheryl, here. There is a little bit of snow showing up out in the Glasgow, Montana area. I do have efforts here underway right now to pull up the Montana DOT. Let's take a look out there as we're in big sky country of Montana, what they're seeing on their cameras from their DOT sites out here. And the road's a little bit on the tricky side. Let's go south of Highway 2, Wolf Point, Montana. There is definitely some haze and some snow covering the roads. Certainly nothing too impressive here, but indeed icy conditions out there. Let's go back to Hutch's National View. Let's take a look at temperatures because that's pretty amazing too. Now you're asking about Maryland, Cheryl. Let's go back out towards that Westminster area. And as we get in, boy, you can sure see Salisbury on up towards Baltimore, very wet weather for most there. And in Dover, south of Milford here, let me get this back up on the radar display. I'm sorry about that. My apologies. I'm talking about the radar and I'm showing you Montana. Here's Milford, and just to the south of that, it looks like we do have a, well, that's just a hole. It looked like a warning. It's not. It's just wet weather. So as we look from Cambridge on up to Annapolis, these areas have green on the radar. That's rain, but just north of Baltimore, we have a snow report that came in just near the New Freedom area, and that's 2.5 inches of snow there from this system that is really pounding parts of Pennsylvania with some pretty nasty-ish weather. How about Boston? Okay, we'll take a close-in look here. From Brockton all the way up to the Boston area, we do have some very wet weather taking place there, and the lightning detection network was going off out there in the out in the ocean, out in the Atlantic out there, as there's some lightning. Now, let's take a look at a couple things. I mentioned that we would talk about the forecast, so let me get to it. Richard, this is pretty interesting here. We're going to start with a look at the the national forecast for the U.S. here, and let's go ahead and look at the American model here. It'll give us a real good idea and paint the picture of how changes are coming. And I got a couple of things we're going to focus on: temperature and precipitation as we head through the big time travel holiday week. Here's what you need to know as we go through. Now, we will have this system off the Pacific Northwest that will be making its way in. Now, I'm going to slowly guide you through this. Here's the heavy rain taking place now in California. Look at that low pressure center and all of the isobars, those black lines around it. That is indicative of some very gusty winds. So in the Pacific Northwest, we're talking wind, and in elevated terrain of British Columbia, some nasty snowflakes flying, and that will extend out into parts of Montana as well. Ethan, thanks for watching and saying that's crazy. Where are you watching from, Ethan? It's good to see you. Deb, thank you very much. Let's check out where this system goes now. As we go into the weekend, the rainy system will slide into the mountains. As the pressure drops, we're going to expect it to change over to snow. So the Santa Ana is seeing some snow not far from Reno. That system, part of it moves north and up into the northern Rockies, while part of it dives south. You see this little dip right here? That's a Colorado low starting to form. Now, there's going to be some heavy snow in northern portions of Idaho, that panhandle of Idaho just west of Montana, and up there near Glacier Park out there as we head into the time frame of Friday midday. So that's what's going on tomorrow in Montana. That system skirts across the international border as we head right into our weekend ahead, but the southern low starts to develop down here. So now we're heading into Sunday, and as that system zips through, watch where it goes. Straight into the Gulf of Mexico, and it really does get strong out here. So I'll slide the map over so you can see this just a little more better. Now, here's what I'm talking about. This system is going to cause counterclockwise flow. This is just model guidance. I call it that. It's not the forecast because a lot can change between now and Friday, the 22nd. So as we go through here, we're looking, the date here is wrong. This is Tuesday. Tuesday. I apologize for that date. Let me see if I can turn that off. Let's just forget about it. Let's say on Tuesday, I'll let you know what day it is. Tuesday, rain, snow in the Great Lakes area. Look at Wisconsin from Milwaukee straight down to Green Bay, and that system wraps around with the cold air, pulling cold air into portions of the northern plains. Some of the coldest air of the season is heading for those locations as we get ready for the biggest travel day for many of the year. Now, as we go into Wednesday, which is that big day, here we go. We're looking at Wednesday as we go into the morning. This system will skirt its way out into Nova Scotia and bring gusty north winds and cold air into the northern plains. I do want to point out this is an ideal situation for some areas to get some of that, what we call the lake effect snow. And if you lived down from Ontario, if you live downwind from Erie, depending on that wind direction, it can really enhance snowfall totals. Here we go on the West Coast now with another system working its way in. So this is getting into Wednesday of the travel day. It's after Wednesday and Thanksgiving that the north winds behind this system tug down some of the very coldest air as we go through. Watching from Fargo, Deb, thank you. Watching from the Dilworth area, thank you, Ethan. Good to have you on board as well. Okay, now we're going to switch our focus back out to the West Coast because there's another system right here making its way in. This is the remnants of the bomb cyclone making its way inland as it works its way through. That system had many waves that came off the Pacific coast and into the Central Plains, and it will continue to wreak havoc until we get into Friday. This is Black Friday. Some of the coldest air of the season on Black Friday. We'll go over that in a second, but here is another chance of some snow showers in the mountains of places like Northern California, in the mountains of Utah and Western Colorado, maybe even as far north as Wyoming as we go through. That system works its way onto the Central Plains. So our big impacts travel-wise are going to be the East Coast system on Wednesday, big travel day, and into Thanksgiving Day, working its way along the East Coast. Here is a look at that one more time. I'm going to pull this back to Wednesday. Here's Wednesday, that system working its way through and out off the East Coast. So that will be basically the remnants of that system, and that could cause some impacts. And then on Wednesday and into Thanksgiving Day, here comes the system through the southwestern United States, impacting travel through the mountains there. That will slip into the Colorado Rockies, it looks like, on this particular model as we go into Black Friday and beyond. Now, how cold are we talking? Let me show you this. Here's a little look at some temperatures, but I'm going to do something called the temperature anomaly chart. And an anomaly is a change from normal. And so as we take a look at the great United States here, check this out as I set this puppy into motion. And what you're going to notice is we're going to have some pretty significant areas of the country that are going to see well below average temperatures and some that will be above average. So in the red colors, that's above average, the blue below average temperatures. Let's go. Here's the Northern Plains burp that's coming out this weekend. That's going through the Northern Rockies and into the Dakotas, while many in the Central Plains and the Great Lakes region will see above average temperatures as we go into the date that you see there. That is Monday, and that is at about mid-morning here, okay? Now, as I continue to advance this, that cold pool will work its way off and wrap around the south side of a low pressure system through the southern Great Lakes region, places like Chicago, Indianapolis. We're talking about Cleveland and also Cincinnati, Ohio. And now look what goes on as we go through. Here comes the big burp of cold air. I mean, this is a burp that you just ain't going to want to face. This face-slapping cold is going to work its way southward as we head into the weekend after Thanksgiving. So Black Friday, Saturday, and Sunday following, this is an Arctic blast coming in. That's some super-duper cold air. Look how far south it dives as well as we take a look. And how cold, Hutch, are we talking about here? Let's go ahead and change this over from the anomalies, and now let's look at some temperatures here. Oh, let's go here. This is a look at the American Models temperature forecast, and what I want to show you with regards to this is getting out to that time frame we're talking about, Thanksgiving Day and Friday. The purple colors you see here, near zero and sub-zero temperatures working their way into the northern plains. That's right. Thank you so much for joining me. Jay, I appreciate you very much. Now let's take a peek at what we have going on as we look at this system and how low it goes as we go into Friday and Saturday. I want to point this out. This blue edge here, that's freezing air. Freezing air potential as far south as Oklahoma, maybe even North Texas. That's not unusual for these places, but Boy, busy travel season the weekend after the holiday. That real cold icebox system sits and parks right over the northern plains for a few days before it slides slowly out into the northeastern United States. And by the way, this is a look into the first week of December where you see the red colors. We start warming up in the west part of the United States and the southern plains with some nice weather in the first week of December. So it does look like it's going to be mighty cold across much of the nation. So we have problems right now in places near in California. I want to thank all of you for joining me and thank you for the thumbs up and the likes on the videos. And I do appreciate it if you go ahead and hit the subscribe button there to see more updates. Any other questions here? Otherwise, we're going to call this a lovely weather update, and I'll keep you apprised of that cold air that's coming nationwide, particularly in the northern and central plains. That'll slide out to the East Coast as we head into the days following the Thanksgiving holiday. Thanks so much. Remember, you can upload pictures to hutchesweather.com, sharing what you're seeing with your weather. Here's a couple of recent uploads, many of these from the northern plains out here where I've been broadcasting for some time, but you can certainly get the feel for some of the cold that's taken hold. Look at this beautiful lakes country in Minnesota, the land of way more than 10,000 lakes, but we call it 10,000 lakes. Check this out. Lake Lida, Maplewood State Park, just absolutely stunning. A lot of folks out here in the northern plains had a terrible ice fishing season last year. It just wasn't cold enough for good ice. So we're hoping that we can set up some good ice in the next couple of weeks so you folks that have been ready to do some ice fishing can get that accomplished. Other photos sent in were some of the recent snow that hit the northern plains. Not everybody was really pleased with it, like this trio of kitties. Whoop, where'd they go? Let me see if I can find them. Here they are. They're looking out the window wondering what is going on with the weather here. This was in Jamestown, North Dakota. All right, I appreciate your uploads and reports of weather on my website, hutchesweather.com. Until next time, please take it easy out there on the East Coast as the snow makes its way through places like upstate New York and Pennsylvania heading into the night, and also out on the West Coast. Thoughts and concern and prayers with you as you go through some very wet weather with some reports of debris slides in Northern California, not far from the San Francisco area. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful Friday night. Check back for more updates right here. You're watching Hutch